We'll begin with our invocation by Councilmember Cox and our pledge of allegiance by Councilmember Fussell.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this day, and we thank you for everyone that's here present. God, we just ask that you be with us as we go through this meeting, Lord. It's all about our residents, and we just pray, God, that you speak to our hearts and our minds, God. Let our ears be open so that we can hear what the people are saying to us, and God, then help us to make the best decision for the residents of this city. It's in your precious son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Next up, and these are always awesome, we have a badge pinning ceremony for Richmond Hill Police Department Sergeant Robert Littlejohn. Chief, I'll turn this over to you.
Go ahead and come on up here. This is Robert Littlejohn, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of background. At Richmond Hill PD, we take great pride in the fact that when we say we support the military, it's not just lip service. Over half of our officers are prior service, and Sergeant now Littlejohn served in Operation Desert Storm. He's an Army veteran. Also, he has about a combined, it's over 30 years police experience, mostly with K-9 and narcotics and patrol up north in the New Jersey area. And then here, he was working some with Chatham County. And I'd like to just kind of tell you how he got here, because people ask all the time, do you recruit? How do you get people here? We do that several ways. One, we try our best to treat our people really good, so they go and recruit their friends. And one of our officers called Littlejohn when he was working in another department and said, man, you got to come out here. This is a good place to work. So Mayor and Council, y'all are part of our recruiting thing. And we tell people how good we have it here and the support we have. The officers tell other people, and they came, and that's how Littlejohn got to be here. And through his leadership and his mentoring of others, it became an obvious point that we needed to promote him to sergeant. So I'm going to ask Officer Mateer of the Poole River Police Department, his cousin, like to do the pinning.
All right.
Our appreciation is extended to Sergeant Littlejohn and all of the Richmond Hill Police Department and all of our law enforcement family. Speaking of that, I see Major David Blige, Bryan County Sheriff's Department. Thank you, Major. Thank you for being here, sir. Mr. Blige was our first Friend of the City recipient a couple of years ago. Thank you for all you've always done for us. Next up, American Legion Proclamation for the City of Richmond Hill. Yeah, you can.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before we present this, I want to tell you a little bit about the American Legion here in Richmond Hill. Currently, this is the third iteration of the American Legion in Richmond Hill. The last time it ran out of gas about 1967, 68, went dormant until 1998. This is our 25th year after we revitalized it. Jay Lanier was a combat veteran of World War I, who was one of the founding members of the American Legion. And that's what we're named for. was a resident of what is now part of Fort Stewart. Okay, but closer to Richmond Hill than one. Okay, so we count that as part of it. We have 91 members and growing again. Okay. And is that better? Is that louder?
Yes.
But I've been here for all 25 years. Okay, and one of the things that go to district meetings and hear about sometimes issues they have with their local government in the city. Okay, and when you stop and think about it, we've been here 25 years, and every time we've asked for support, we've gotten it. Okay, we don't ask for much, so you don't hear about as much. But we are quiet professionals. We have members in the community doing as much as 2,300 hours a year of volunteer work with Meals on Wheels, other organizations, churches. That's it. That 2,000 hours, we got one member. Okay, and we've got many members working in volunteer. I can't count the hours total, but we don't have that kind of volunteerism unless you're living in a community worth thanking. So, in honor and recognition of our 25 years here in Richmond Hill, we passed a resolution that I'm going to ask. We changed command in July. This is Dan Autry, he'll be our incoming commander. I'm going to ask him to read the resolution while I present it to you, Mayor, on behalf of the City Council.
The American Legion Resolution. Whereas the American Legion J.E. Linear Post 27 has been constituted in the city of Richmond Hill for 25 years, and whereas upon this time the city of Richmond Hill has been a constant source of community support for active duty service members, veterans programs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the American Legion J.E. Linear Post number 27 does commend the city of Richmond Hill and its government for its support of veterans and active duty service members, and be it further resolved that in token of our common appreciation and thanks, the American Legion J.E. Linear Post declares the city of Richmond Hill, Georgia, a veteran-friendly city, and a copy of this resolution to be presented to the city of Richmond Hill City Council the second day of May in the year 2023. David R. James, Adjutant. James H. Ellis, Senior Commander.
Continuing with our proclamations. It's the night proclamations. I think the first one was actually a surprise. This is recognizing May 2023 as Historic Preservation Month. Whereas the National Trust for Historic Preservation established May as Historic Preservation Month in 1973 as a way to promote historic places for the purpose of instilling nation and community pride, promoting heritage tourism, and showing the social and economic benefits of historic preservation. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all ethnic backgrounds. And now, therefore, I, Russ Carpenter, Mayor of the City of Richmond Hill, do proclaim May 2023 as Historic Preservation Month. And I will receive this for our committee. Thank you. I'm going to move communications up, at least this part of it. I would like to recognize Summer Beal. Summer is new to our chamber. Summer, would you like to come say a few words? Summer has taken over the Bryan County Richmond Hill Chamber of Commerce.
Hi, thanks so much for having me today. My name is Summer. Today is my second day over at the chamber, so I'm super excited. My family and I have been in the community for a couple of years now. We're very excited to be here, and I'm just excited to have the opportunity and to really hit the ground running and see this community thrive and grow. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is council approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion, we approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Cox. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Fussell. All in favor? The agenda is approved. Next up is the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Scholar. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Cox. All in favor? Motion carries. Planning and Zoning Director Randy Dykes.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. The first three items, we need to go into the Board of Zoning Appeals.
We are now in the Board of Zoning Appeals.
First public hearing we have tonight is a petition that's been filed with the City of Richmond Hill by Everett Love with Fendig Signs, requesting a variance to Article 16, Section 16.10 of the Unified Development Ordinance for the property located at 300 Longwood Drive, map and parcel 046-004. Property is zoned I-1 Industrial District. So in your packet, the very first item in your packet you should see is kind of a breakdown on the variances that are being sought tonight. The first one is the freestanding sign to be a pole sign instead of a monument sign. Second one is the freestanding sign to be 55 feet in height instead of the 8 foot allowed. The third one is the freestanding sign structure to be approximately 797 square feet instead of the 100 square feet allowed. Fourth one is the freestanding sign face to be approximately 232 square feet instead of the 40 square feet allowed. And then there's a building sign being applied for that's approximately 190 square feet instead of 75 square feet. And then last is a driveway directional signs asking to be 5 feet instead of the 3 foot that's allowed. So in your package, you'll see the location map of this at Roberts International. And you'll also see some renderings of the signs.
Thank you, Randy. Is there anyone here to speak for the zoning appeal? Oh, sir, if you'll state your name.
Yes, Frank Henderson, General Manager and Partner with Roberts International Trucks. Basically, we had a freestanding, our monument sign was knocked down in a windstorm about a year ago. This is direction we're getting from our manufacturer, basically. This is the signage that they're required by our dealer service agreement that we put on our building. We obviously need the high-rise sign with the nature of our business for trucks to see coming up through 95 to have notice where we are, as well as the frontage of our building on Longwood Drive as well. Like I said, I know that there's quite a few signs in there. However, this is what we're getting from the top in Chicago that they're mandating us to do. Just a side note, without question, I really do feel like that the high-rise standing sign is a must for us. We have to have that. All of our competitors have it in the additional areas, and that's something that International has deemed essential to our operation in Richmond.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak for or against this appeal? Next.
Second public hearing is a petition has been filed with the City of Richmond Hill by Brandon and Crystal Neist requesting a variance to Article 12, Section 12.5A, fences and walls of the Unified Development Ordinance for the property located at 15 Valley Oak Drive, map and parcel 0464-180. Property is on PUD Plan Unit Development. In your package, you'll see some photos of the fence as it stands right now. There's a utility easement where a sewer main is located. It went through the permitting process, and you'll see the items in there that was with the permit, with the layout showing where the fence would go, which wouldn't have been in the easement. And when it got constructed, it was found to be in the easement.
Is there anyone here to speak for or against this zoning appeal request? You'll please give us your name.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Brandon Neese. This is my wife, Crystal Neese. I'm an Army aviator. She works for the Department of Veterans Affairs. We've lived here since 2018 and been a member of the community ever since. In June of 2022, we had the fence erected. And in November of last year, we got a notice on the door saying that there were some issues. So we contacted the zoning and planning department to kind of figure out what was going on. As Mr. Dyke stated, we went through the entire process to get the approvals, the permits, and everything like that. We did have some initial questions before we even erected the fence about where the sewer mains were located. And per the guidance of planning and zoning and where we plotted out, we were told it wasn't going to be an issue. Like I said, we went through the entire process, and for better or for worse, it's been a very confusing process to say the least. And then ultimately, it was decided that we were in the easement. We were given notice in February to remove the fence, and obviously that's why we're here now. Per the UDL section 29.3 powers and duties, it says the board can deviate from the ordinances, where by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of specific piece of property, it would be practical difficulties would cause undue hardship. So for our property specifically, if we moved the fence in where the easement is claimed, it would be inside of our house. So I don't know when the easements are, when the code has changed, but if we measure 20 feet from the outside of our property on the southern portion of our house, we would be inside of our house by 4 feet. On the back side of our property, if we move in, we would only be 9 feet from our back wall of our house. So that, I mean, that's an unreasonable size for a backyard. Additionally, we have a lake in the backyard of our house as well. And for the safety of our children and for everybody else in the community, everyone that's on that side of the road of the lake has a fence built within the same parameters that we built our fence. And so if we were to move it in, our HOA would not approve the request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this request? Next up.
Next public hearing is for a petition that's been filed with the City of Richmond Hill on Shasta Pylon, requesting a variance to Article 12, Section 12.5A, fences and walls of the Unified Development Ordinance for the property located at 10 Valley Oak Drive, map and parcel 0464-189. Property is on PUD Plan Unit Development. So this is directly across the street from the one we just were talking about. Previously, I had met with the property owner there to look at where the easements were at, and it limited the space, and so they didn't move forward with their fence. But since the previous applicant is here now requesting a variance, they decided to go for a variance also. It's the same situation, sewer easements.
Is there anyone here to speak for this request? If you would state your name, please.
My name is Shasta Beeman. So yes, to what Mr. Dyke said, I am echoing my neighbors across the street for a fence request. So when I purchased the property, I received a plat that did not state, it stated a utility easement, which my fence request is within that utility easement. it did not state any plat lines for the sewage. So when I received approval from my HOA to build the fence to mirror every other fence on my block and to mirror the same cutout length as the previous variance request, it was approved. I had the quote, I received everything that I needed to move forward, paid my deposit, and then the city would not approve a permit for them to erect the fence in my yard. So since then, we've had various issues with our neighbors. We back up to a townhouse development. Mr. Dykes did state that we could build a fence straight along the back. We just could not build the fence up. So with a small child in the home and 2 dogs on the property, that's not really practical. So if the final plat would have been updated properly according to various ordinances that were submitted in 2020, I would have never bought the home. So I moved to Richmond Hill from Michigan about 12 years ago. I've lived in and out of Richmond Hill. I have loved Richmond Hill, but I would have not purchased this home if I would have been given the proper information ahead of time, which I was not. So now for the last year, my son has had to walk our dogs. We have had him random in the backyard by dogs that are not on leashes, which is not fair. I did not purchase 0.26 acres in Richmond Hill to not be able to utilize the property. So I am requesting a variance as well to echo the same fence wattage.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for or against this variance request? I think that's all with the zoning appeals, correct?
You'll still be in that as we make the decision on the variance.
Right.
So it's not public hearing.
Yes, I'm going to hereby close the public hearing for the zoning appeals.
The first one we have under the variance is approval of the petition filed with the City of Richmond Hill by Everett Love Appendix Signs requesting a variance to Article 16, Section 16.10 of the Unified Development Ordinance for the property located at 300 Longwood Drive, map and parcel 046004. The property is zoned I-1 Industrial District. So as I spoke before, I won't list them again unless you have a question about it. I would just add, Amanda had asked repeatedly for any kind of photos or proof of an existing sign there, and we never received one. So I'm not sure about when going it over. We looked on Google Earth, had a history, and couldn't find any photos of one either. But that's not to say there wasn't one, it's just we could not find proof.
Council, any questions or concerns?
Well, I have several questions. Frank, do you mind coming back? Yes, sir. For just a second. This is kind of an unusual amount of variances being
Yes, sir.
requested. Signs is something that they can quickly become cluttered with signs.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that your company, and I'm assuming that's international, is asking that you put the high rise up.
Yes, sir. We did contract a sign company. I mean, of the signs of importance, the high rise, I apologize, Mr. Rand. I mean, I can send you a picture. I mean, I gotta have a sign on the interstate. I have to. I will say, some of the other, requesting the other signs in the building and whatnot, that would be nice to have just from an advertising and marketing standpoint. However, where I stand, the high-rise sign from the interstate is an absolute must for us. And that draws numerous business to Richmond Hill. I can't tell you how many times people tell us, look, I don't even know you're there, when you're going down 95. It's hard to see. You can see the Love sign right down the road from us, but you can't see the Roberts International sign. So I do agree that, there is a lot of variances in there, and I would just ask for special consideration on the high-rise side for us. It puts us at a distinct advantage not to have that business.
Can I ask Mr. Dykes a question? Is this something that comes up more frequently along 95 because more people are wanting the bigger signs?
We haven't had the request. There's a lot of existing signs that were put up prior to the UDO adoption in 2017. So prior to that date, they were allowed to have some taller signage. But this is the first application that I'm aware of that we've had since the adoption of the UDO.
And what are the other signs in relation to what he's asking?
There's a mixture of heights out there. There's some that's even taller than what he's asking for. It's out there in that area. Some shorter's on taller. There's a mix. There's probably half the properties on Longwood have that and half don't.
Frank, what do you think the results would be if none of these were approved by international?
I really don't know, Mr. Les, honestly. I mean, we have specific direction. We have via our dealer service agreement with Navistar, which is this signage. I mean, I can tell you conversations that I've had, we're gonna have to have some sort of, I will have to come back and do this all over again. I mean, we have to, from a business standpoint, you have to have some sort of notification of what your product is.
I will mention, all right, so what he's allowed right now is an 8-foot tall sign. That's what's on his own, but it is from adjacent pavement grade. So we might could look at to see the height of the interstate pavement right there in that area, and maybe able to, go, it's measured from that point for the height. We could look at that and see the monument. It wouldn't be as tall as what you're asking for today, but it would give you some signage along.
Yeah, I mean, our biggest, if you look at if you Google other international dealers or Ford dealers or any sort of car or truck dealer, look at the sign they have. And they have the high-rise sign, and we're interstate frontage. And I will tell you, just as, where I'm at, I would be willing to concede some of the signage on the building and stuff like that if we could for the signage on the road. It is just, it's almost a weekly occurrence that I have people that are at the Loves that see the Love sign that call over looking for an international deal and say, hey, we're right across 144. They have no idea we're there.
Randy, let me ask you a question. In addition to the height, 55 feet, how many of those signs down there are either close to, do you think, or in excess of 797 square feet?
That's a tough one. We didn't do any kind of study.
Ballpark.
I mean, like I said earlier, probably half the businesses have signs, so I'm gonna say any of the taller ones are probably gonna be close to that square footage for some of these.
And I guess that'd be the same thing with the sign face. 232 square feet instead of 40 square feet long.
So kind of comparing, obviously, a high-rise, basically a high-rise sign to an 8-foot monument sign.
So let me ask this question. Is this, because typically for a variance, it's because of hardship. So we've got a lot of them right here. Is this something, or the ordinance that we have in place, is that something along the 95 area that maybe that is something we should look at to see if our ordinances
I would guess if you approve the variance, you'd probably want to look at the ordinance regs, because I'm sure other businesses along there, when they learn the variance was given, then they'll probably want to high-rise signs. And
I know that this wouldn't impact him right now, but kind of what I'm thinking is it something that we could potentially table and look at all those to see if that is something that we might want to look at the ordinance or something, because that's a lot of variances.
The only thing I'd say, Christie, is that if we were to table it and look at it and have the ordinance redrawn, we're talking considerable amount of time. Months.
I mean, we have been, I know we didn't do our part and send the picture, but we've been without a sign for a year, and I mean, again, like if you go right across 144, you look at Love's Truck Stop, I mean, they're right there with a massive high-rise sign.
Frank, it's not our fault y'all were without a sign for a year.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I know, no, it's not. I'm just saying if we table it and we go another 6, no, completely. No, if we table and go that's another 6 months that we're without a sign. I mean, I've got a sign company ready to manufacture their sign as soon as we get the approval.
This might be, I'm thinking, so why does Love's have the big sign?
Yeah, they were prior to 2017.
What do they see?
They're interstate commercial.
Yeah, they're zone plus it was way before.
So you've got two different zones right there.
Right.
He falls under the industrial, and over on 144, that's interstate commercial.
It's really
difference.
apples and oranges
Yeah,
because
that-
of the location.
Council, any other questions?
No, I'm gonna make a motion that we deny the variances. However, I'm gonna ask that we go back and look at that UDO ordinance as it applies to these signs out there and see if perhaps that's a bit on the strict side. So I'll make a motion that for the time being, we disapprove the variances.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second with the agreement that we're gonna go back and look at it because it might end up.
Yeah, I mean, we just, and like I said, I mean, I'm just as a business owner, I mean, an 8-foot sign doesn't mean nothing on 95. You know, if you're running 75 miles an hour, you can't see an 8-foot sign from I-95, you know, and that's, you know, we just have to have something there that we can draw business, not only to us, but into Richmond Hill. I mean, if not, it's gonna go to Jacksonville. There's a dealer in Jacksonville that has the high-rise sign right off I-95, you know? And so, I mean, it puts us at a distinct disadvantage. And I do understand and respect the council's decision. I mean, however, I just would like there to be work to where we can get this, and again, Mayor Carter, I know that's not your fault, but, you know, we're going on over a year of not having.
We'll do our best to work with you, but there is a motion and a second on the floor, so we need to, vote on that. Motion and second, for disapproving with the condition that we will take a look at, some relief for these businesses there.
Would you amend that? Put a time on it.
That's my order. I would amend it to say that we just approve the variance request as they've been stated, and that within 30 days, we look at what can be done, if anything, to provide relief.
You said disapprove.
I'm disapproving.
Okay. So here's a motion to disapprove and within 30 days to come up with a plan, if there is one, to offer a different.
It would be enacted in 30 days.
No,
No, we can begin to look at it.
you got to start if there is one. So does everybody understand the motion? All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor of disapproval? Motion carries.
Number 2 under variance is disapproval of the petition filed by the city of Richmond Hill by Brandon and Crystal East requesting a variance to Article 12, Section 12.5A, fences and walls of the Unified Development Ordinance for property located at 15 Valley Oak Drive, map and parcel 0464-180. Property is on PUD, Plan Unit Development. As I stated earlier, this one's the one where the fence was already constructed, but not in the correct spot. It's blocking the easement. The plats, they never show sewer lines, they just show easements. So, I know that was mentioned earlier, they show the sewer line itself. You'll see in the picture, there's a manhole there, just inside their fence now, that's actually our sewer manhole.
Council, any questions?
So Randy, what was the recommendation from planning and zoning?
We had met out there and kind of looked at where a fence could or could not go. And just kind of so you know, in 2022 alone, we did 131 fence permits, 56 of those had easements involved. There's a lot of similar situations in neighborhoods, especially the newer ones. This one, the yards are actually a little bit larger, a little bit farther apart than some of the subdivisions we have now. And a lot of folks are very limited on where they can put a fence, and sometimes it just doesn't make any sense to put the fence up because of the limited space that's there. This is one of the cases, it's a corner lot, just like the next one is a corner lot. Sewer runs down the side and then it runs down the back to service all the lots. So, like I say, fence is in the wrong spot, so we just maybe let them show them where it could go, and where it couldn't go.
So, can I ask again, the planning and zoning recommendation on this?
We don't want to make a recommendation, but we just, we follow what the ordinances are. So everybody we deal with that has these fences like that, that's the reason we started, as y'all recall, when we had a lot of issues with fences blocking access for the public works to get to the sewer manholes or storm inlets when it comes to flood. And like they stated, their neighbors all have fences in the easement. Well, that was one of the reasons why prior to 2017-ish timeframe, we revised the ordinance so you couldn't block these easements anymore with fences. So, you know, we go through this process, like I stated, there was, I think, 56 of them in 2022 where we showed them where the easement is, like the neighbor across the street, and they decide whether to go forward or not. One went forward, the other one didn't. One went forward and ended up in the wrong spot.
Council, any other questions?
I think some of this became a problem because the HOA approved it, and so the HOA doesn't either notify them to contact the city, and so there's some miscommunication.
We run into that a lot, and whenever we approve stuff, we always, if they have HOA, we also tell them that even though we approve something, your HOA might not approve it. So it goes both ways too.
But this one, they came and got the permit packet.
Yes, I believe the initial one that came and got the permit was a different lady. She may have been, I'm not sure, what was the last name that originally applied for the permit? Shayla.
Building contractor.
Well, I think she's with a real estate firm that does property management.
Yeah.
So the initial one came through that.
Right, but then when they got the permit packet, they didn't come back and have the pre-inspection done
That's
first,
right.
because at that point, if the pre-inspection
That's
had been done, they would have been told at that point.
That's right. So the first step is to find the property pins and
Okay.
install your posts where outside the easement. And then the inspector can come out and inspect at that point before you go forward with building the rest of the fence. We didn't get any inspections called in until after the fence was built. You'll see in your packet from the inspector and from Aaron, the planning and zoning tech, all the communications that they had over the time. So what triggered it also was when I went to the neighbor's house across the street and looking back the other way, the neighbor also brought it to the attention that fence was in the easement. And so, we went from there and they never called in any inspections. So then we met out there, it was in the easement. So then they got a letter giving them, I think it was 30 days to move the fence out of the easement. And I went out there and met with them at that time, with the building inspector and the fence contractors. And that's when they decided to move forward with the variance.
Can you shed any light on what he's saying, if he moved it in, it would be in his house? Wait, how does that happen?
Shouldn't be, obviously. Most of the time, the easement's right on the edge of the house where the fence would tie into the house. So I'm not sure, maybe it's just a 15-foot easement, maybe it's 15 feet.
Or could that be from not being from the pin, but being from the road maybe, measurements?
But you'll see on the picture, the manhole is a pretty good ways away from the house, so I wouldn't see the easement being up into the house.
So everything that Mr. Dykes is mentioning is the correct process, right, that is supposed to happen on both the homeowner side and the city side, right? So the very first phone call that I made personally outside of Mrs. Watt, who's part of the Compass Construction, the contractor that built the fence, was about that manhole cover. Whenever we purchased the home, we expressed our interest in building the fence, and the very first thing the realtor said was like, hey, you got a manhole here, you guys, we're gonna have to call and figure out what's going on with that. Whenever we called, we got the plot, and just like our neighbor had stated, the plats have not been updated. The initial plat, we've been sent 3 or 4 different types of plats from the city, and each one is different. Some say 15 feet, some say 20 feet. The notice of removal said 20 feet, so if it's actually 20 feet, that's the one that's within our house. If you measure from the road, it's 30 feet. So initially, we were told that to measure from the road, and coincidentally, 15 feet from the road to our property line is exactly 15 feet. So whenever we sent in the approval, it was based on the predication from planning and zoning techs, because we're not experts at reading plats. We seek the expertise of these individuals. So whenever we were reading it, I confirmed if I was reading it correctly, and what they told me was the line was the line of the road. I know it's kind of hard to tell without the plats in front of you. I'm not sure what pictures you guys have, if it was in your packet, but that's not the case with our plat. That line is not actually the road. So that's where this confusion came back and forth. So where we said that we were gonna build the fence is where we told them we were gonna build the fence. But after Mr. Dykes came out and told us it was incorrect. So we're getting conflicting information from the text at planning and zoning and then what Mr. Dykes is saying. If what Mr. Dykes is saying is correct, I'm not saying that he is incorrect. Obviously, he's the expert on this, but if he is correct, that's what I'm saying, that if we move the fence in, it's inside the side of our house. And like our neighbor stated, we're just requesting that we be grandfathered in with the rest of our neighborhood. We're the only two houses on the end there that aren't. I've got a picture here, you can see all the way down to the pool would be the easement. So the easement would literally go through where our community pool is. There's, just speaking as like a reasonable person, I know what black and white says, but realistically, this fence is not causing any harm to anybody. And if it needs to be removed, you know, at a future date because of access, you know, we're more than willing to work
I
with
think
that.
that's the issue. There's access in an emergency, or we gotta get to our sewer, which happens a lot.
Yeah, and so whenever we first called about this manhole, you know, Miss Dennison, she was the one that said they were not tracking a manhole in our backyard whatsoever. We had multiple conversations about this, and she's the one that recommended if we put a gate right there by the manhole. She's like, I don't see why there would be an issue, which is what we did. We paid extra to have a gate built right next to the manhole. And we even shortened the fence in the back, not only so we could see the pond, but so if there was access issues, people could easily see into our backyard and get access to what they needed to.
Thank you, sir.
I don't want to dispute what he says, but I would just say again that we've done 56 with easements, and that information has never been given out to anybody with an easement. So you can do a gate. I've actually been told you can't do a gate to block easements. On the drawing, you see where the easement line is, and they showed where they were going to put the fence, and it was not in the easement, and that's how it was permitted. I can answer any questions for you on it.
Council, any other questions about this? Council, which way do y'all want to go? Motion, you want to talk about a motion or to approve or disapprove yet, or the table? Any variance requests this time?
I personally, it is not unusual, it's very unusual for me not to visit the properties whenever there's a variance. Unfortunately, I did not visit your property to look at this. I would like that opportunity. I would recommend that we table this variance and also when we get to the next variance, so we can actually look at it, work with planning and zoning and the resident, and see if there is some viable plan that we can come up with.
You made that in the form of a motion?
I'll make that the form of a motion.
So this will be just for this one. We'll have to do the other one separate also. But remember now, once something is tabled, it has to be voted on at the next city council meeting. So
I looked at
I'll yield to your decision.
okay. There is a motion on the floor by Councilmember Fussell. Is there a second to table the motion by Brandon and Crystal Nice? There's a second. All in favor? All opposed? The motion carries to table.
All right, the third one we have is the disapproval of the petition filed with the City of Richmond Hill by Chasta Pavon requesting a variance to Article 12, Section 12.5A, fences and walls of the Unified Development Ordinance for the property located at 10 Valley Oak Drive, map and parcel 0464-189. Property is on PUD, Plan Unit Development. Do you have any questions on this one? This one's the one where the fence was never moved.
Council, would you like to go through this now or table this on further inspection?
So fence has not been erected.
Are they,
I do have one question.
so there are questions in it, okay, so we're going into this now. Okay, well, that's what I asked, and then y'all started asking questions, so I guess we're asking questions. Let's
All
continue.
the houses on that side, all of them have
They all had fences permitted prior to when the development basically was built, they put fences. The two corner lots never had fences.
Could I possibly speak?
Sure.
So our houses were built in 2009. So this ordinance was put into place in 2017. So all of that to say that these are being grandfathered in, that is not written anywhere in any ordinance. That is a word of mouth suggestion. So them being grandfathered in is not in anything. The ordinances, it does not state plots in this property with pre-existing fences prior to the date that this ordinance was signed and put into motion are dismissed. So, and again, I understand that me and my neighbor are both asking for this ordinance to have a variance applied so that we can erect fences to support our families, our property values, the image of our blocks, all of which is completely understandable from a normal thought process, but it doesn't make sense to deny it at this point. So
So you're asking for a grandfather, but you're against grandfather.
So if you're not going to give both of us an approval to be grandfathered into that, at what point are you notifying every person on our block that they have to take their fence down? Because every one of them will run into that same sewage issue and their fences will be taken down.
Okay, thank you.
So they're not really grandfathered in, they're legal non-conforming. And so we run into this all over the city a lot too. A lot of people have fences that were erected in easements prior to the adoption of the ordinance where you can't do it. And until they take it down to replace it, it can stay where it's at. Unless we have an emergency, then UM can go in and knock them down. And we don't have to put them back up. And when they permit them for a new one, they can't put them back in the easement.
Okay. Council, any other questions about this? Is there a motion to approve, disapprove, or table?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the ordinances do change. Ordinances change for a lot of reasons. And just because your neighbor has that fence, doesn't mean that you are entitled to that fence. I can personally say I have a fence that cannot be repaired, cannot be replaced. Because it sits in a drainage easement and it was put in place prior to the purchase of the homes. It's not my fence, it's my daughter's fence. So I'm gonna recommend that we deny the variance for the fence for Chestnut Island. Is that correct?
Yes.
Item 3.
You make that in the form of a
I
motion.
did make that a motion.
Is that in the form of a motion by Councilmember Fussell to deny the variance for Ms. Highland. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Scholar. All in favor of disapproval? Signify by raising your hand. The motion is denied.
Now we are out of the board of going. Now we go to the city council.
Yes. We were out of that form of zoning bill. That was the variance summons. So now, ARB Planning Commission for report.
So on April 20th, the ARB met, but didn't have any items to vote on. They did have some historic preservation training that they went through, so that was valuable to all the members that were there. On April 10th, the Planning Commission met, and they approved the building elevations and the site plan for equipment share phase 2. They're purchasing the 2 lots beside them, building another building, same size as what they have now, have a bigger yard. So they approved the site plan and the building elevations. They also recommended approval of the Turtle Hill Villas Phase 3 plat that you'll be looking at tonight also, isn't it? On April 24th, they met, and the only item they held a public hearing for the comprehensive plan update. And that will be coming to y'all in the June city council meeting. So the next item I have is the approval, disapproval of the preliminary plat submitted by Seacoast Construction for Turtleville Villas Phase 3 to be located on Binding Way, map and parcel 054E-104. So in your package, you'll see the preliminary plat that's in there, and their layout meets the current regulations of the UDO. It's the last little parcel in Turtle Hill there, tucked in way in the back. If you go straight in the subdivision and then the road forks, you take the right fork, it's all the way in the back. And there's representatives here tonight if you have any questions, or if I can answer any, I'll be willing to also.
Council, have any questions for Randy or the representatives for Seacoast Construction?
This is now townhomes, correct?
Yes, it'd be townhomes.
Council, any questions? Tristan, you looking?
It's not in there. It's not.
It should be probably the last thing in
Okay. We'll get it.
But I looked at it,
your packet. Got it. Got it right here. Which you'll see.
Is it on Google?
I'll call it. We'll do about, I don't know why I think about it. Probably because it's been longer.
It's on the drive.
That's not right.
So we drive up. I was thinking we'll get it
Council, any questions or concerns? Is there a motion to approve or disapprove?
I make a motion we approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Scholar. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Fussell. All in favor? Motion carries.
And that's all I have for tonight.
Randy, I have
Yes.
one question for you. On the equipment share,
Yes.
have they complied with their letter?
So they're almost done. They have till the end of May to complete that on the current facility. And the planning commission would not allow them to turn any dirt on, if they approved that one. So
On the site?
that's right. They would not allow them to start doing any site work until the first building, the work had been complete. Because they track a lot of mud out on the Thunderbird right now. So the new site will be built better where that won't be an issue. The current site, they're doing some remediation work, pouring some concrete, where the tractor trailers come in to load the equipment so they won't track the dirt on the road. But they have to have that done before the end of May. They're under a citation right now. And they won't be ready to turn any dirt on this site probably for another 3 or 4 months, I would imagine.
Thank you, Randy. Any business that I'm aware of? Council, are there any communications from you?
Yes, I'd like to just thank, Mr. Sherman and the Richmond Hill Convention and Visitors Bureau. We were able to attend the ribbon cutting for the new Richmond Hill display at the Georgia Visitor Center, coming from South Carolina, and it is beautiful. I think it's gonna help us. It has a great interactive map there, we can tell them where they can eat, where they can sleep, and everything else. It's nice.
Did they point toward Richmond now?
Did they what point towards Richmond? Yeah. They know it's right there. But I'm gonna tell you, when you walk in, it's the very first display on the left, right by the desk where everybody's got to go up and ask their questions. It looks really good.
It has a Ford car there, I'm assuming it's hard to miss.
Just one quick thing, I had, and I think I told you the workshop, we did there was a presentation by 4 or 5 groups out of middle school for how to solve the roadkill problem in Richmond Hill. They weren't able to make it this month. They'd like to come in June and present their findings and recommendations for fixing the roadkill problem.
That would be interesting. Also, I'd like to compliment staff, especially Richmond Fire Department, for the spring fling. The thousands of people that were there enjoyed that, and most importantly, the thousands that were raised for Operation Christmas Presents Under the Tree. So that's always that's about our counting the Seafood Festival, and then the 4th of July event. That's probably easily our 3rd largest event in the park. each year, so that's a big thing. We're happy about that. Council, anything else? Staff? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Councilmember Scholar. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cox. All in favor? The motion carries. We are adjourned.